Welcome. We are the hosts of the Creative Rebels podcast.
A podcast to help you find happiness and fulfillment in a creative career.
This series of videos we're calling Creative Thinking, and it's where we are going to be directly answering your questions.
Whether you're a freelancer, creative professional, or you're just getting started, we're here to help.
There's literally never been a better time in history to make a career from being creative. So many people are going to tell you that you can't do it, but we're here to tell you that you definitely can.
Welcome back, Rebels, to another episode of Creative Thinking.
Oh, that was good.
Thank you.
Very professional. This is an easy one. Today's question comes from Chris, who emailed us, connect@rebelscreate.com. And he says that he's finding a morning routine really hard. He's been trying to get up at 5 a.m. for the past week, and because that's all the advice that he's seeing everywhere online, get up at 5 a.m. And he says by the time it gets to 3 p.m. in the afternoon, he's absolutely wrecked.
I'd say the first thing here is I wonder what time he went to bed.
Yeah.
Because it's fair enough getting up early, but if you're not getting the actual sleep that you need, you're just going to be exhausted the next day. And also, those first few days are going to be harder as well. Like, if you go straight into it, don't think that's how it's going to be going forward. Because what I always like to think is, like, if you go on holiday and you're in a different time zone, if you normally wake up at 7 and you move 2 hours the other way, you're waking up at 5 every day anyway. So it's just adapting to, like, getting a time zone for your body to live in.
Do you think that then is, some of it is mental? That like, I feel like I'm tired, so I am behaving tired. Because when I'm on holiday, I'm a little bit groggy for the first day, but it doesn't affect my whole week because I'm like, oh, I'm on holiday and everything's cool.
I think what happens most of the time when people start getting up early is they start getting up early but don't change anything else. They don't start going to bed earlier. They still have the same evening routine as they did previously, especially like if you're in a relationship or you're living with other people who've got their set times and they go to bed at this time. If you start to go to bed earlier, then there's still other things going on in the house, and it's like you're not getting used to that. So what I would suggest doing, and what I did when I first started to try and get up earlier, was to go to bed earlier, get a face mask, so there's kind of like no light on there. So if anyone comes in the room or anything, it's like dark. Get some earplugs and just try and like force yourself into that routine.
Yeah, being dark is really important. So your skin actually can detect when it's light outside, and that's when it kicks in the hormone for you to start to wake up. Yeah. Whatever the chemicals are that you experience when it's sunny outside. So, and because it switches us from being nighttime creatures to being daytime creatures. Yeah. So in order for that to happen, our body has to change. And so there are receptors on your skin that, so like try and be in a darkened room. So get blackout curtains or anything like that. Another good tip is to use 15-minute increments. So rather than just like going, if you normally get up at 8 instead of like just boom, getting up at 5, go 7:45, 7:30. Just like each couple of days, start peeling it back 15 minutes, because then it's not such a shock to the system. And also be really honest with yourself, because a lot of it comes down to self-discipline. Mm-hmm. If you've set yourself a bedtime, most of us know how much sleep we need. Yeah. I'm an 8 hours guy. There's some people who are fine with 6, but it's normally like 6 to 8 is kind of your average, isn't it? But be really disciplined. If you're setting yourself, this is my bedtime, are you really sticking to it? So what I do is at 9:30 I come off screens, which has been suffering recently because of the Nintendo Switch. And so I have been not sticking to my own rule, and I have been more tired as a result as well. So normally what I do when I'm being well behaved is stop looking at screens at 9 p.m. And then I go to bed at 10. Sometimes it's 9:30 if I've got like emails that I really want to get back to, but cutting off of screens. And then that last half an hour at 9:30, I like to put a podcast on, be in a darkened room if possible. Again, that is because you're gradually telling your brain to calm your body down.
What are you listening to podcasts on?
So you know me, normally most of the content that I'm going to consume is going to be business, it's going to be personal development. It's actually pro wrestling podcasts that I will listen to. I will listen to very niche Japanese pro wrestling podcasts, finding out what's going on over in the Tokyo Dome. And that for me is really exciting. It's just like, that's what I completely like de-stress to.
I think that's great, because I know a lot of people will go to bed and like read some fiction, and what they always say is don't go to bed with something that's work related, because then you're just going to be processing it the whole night and you're not going to sleep properly because your brain's active.
Well, there is the advice, isn't there, of if you've got a problem, always sleep on it. And because you're your brain does go to work on solving problems, and you will often find, especially if you do something like crafty, like with your hands or something like that, if you're trying to work out like a specific way you're going to make the paint go, and then you sleep on it in the morning, you'll actually be better because your brain has been doing that action over and over again in your sleep.
I think that works really, really well if you need to solve a problem. But if you need to wake up early, that's not a good thing to do. Because I know, like, I used to get it all the time where I'd basically be working up until bed and then getting to bed and I just couldn't sleep for hours.
Because you're mulling it, turning it over and over and over.
I'm having all these different ideas. And I used to keep a notepad by my bed to write down these ideas because I would just be thinking all the time. And then I realised what an awful idea that is, because then it makes me think of ideas and makes me stop sleeping, write stuff down, and then you have to try and get back to sleep again. So it's all about having that like nice routine before bed. Like, I don't do it very often, but if I read, I'll pick up a book and within 2 pages I'll be absolutely exhausted. So there's no point in me trying to read before bed, because
unless you're looking for a way to send you off.
Yeah, which is perfect. But it means I don't ever get through a book because I only last about 2 minutes and I'm straight asleep.
Yeah. And so why are you trying to get up early is another important question to ask, because I think a lot of people are doing it because it's quite trendy at the moment. Mm-hmm. If it's making you miserable, then don't.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with getting like we interviewed my good friend Paul Elliott on the podcast, and he was talking about how there's no way he's getting up before like 8, 9, 10 in the morning, because his creative prime comes at about sort of 11 o'clock, midday. That's when he's going to start working.
Yeah.
And for us, like, we've been up since 5, or 5:30. That's the middle of the day for us. That's the beginning of his day.
See, I love the mornings because in the evenings everyone's kind of around and I can't really have time to focus. Like in our household environment, there's nowhere I can really go to be quiet. But if I wake up early in the morning, then I've got the whole kind of like kitchen lounge area to myself for like a good 2 hours. And that's a really nice time to just kind of get all my work done and just do whatever I need to do without being disturbed. I think what a lot of people really struggle with is that actual getting out of bed. I think that is like the hardest part of like getting up in the morning. That kind of that motivation, that willing yourself to just like fucking do it. And I think the best advice that I've ever learned was just get your feet on the ground. All you have to do is get your feet to touch the ground and you'll get up. Because it's that, like, to actually lay there and just kind of like get out and put your feet out, that's the hardest part. But then it's easy to stand up once your feet are out of the bed. So definitely that's my top tip.
If I do that from my bed, then that means I'm out
You're
of the bed.
about 1.5 meters up, aren't you?
Yeah, my bed's really high off the ground because we've got a storage unit underneath the bed. So yeah, I have to literally jump out of bed in order for that to happen. So it definitely works for me.
Yeah.
It comes down to discipline. Getting out of bed it's not impossible. It's just we don't want to do it. Mm-hmm. It's cozy, it's nice. You're in a sleepy state. Your body's not ready for the morning yet. Getting out of bed is always going to be hard. There's not ever going to be a magic thing that is going to make it super easy for you. It's just getting into the habit, and it is pure self-discipline. For me, certainly, the last thing I ever want to do is get out of bed, but I instill it within myself that I have no other option. I've got to get out of bed, and it's because I have to go to the gym. And because I have to go to the gym, in order to get to the gym, I have to get out of bed.
I think that's a really good point. Because before you go to bed, you know the next morning you've got to get up and go to the gym. When people really struggle is when they get up and then they're like, what do I do now? I've got up early. Now I expect everything to be better. But that's not the case. You have to plan before you go to sleep what you're going to do the next morning and actually think. So when you wake up, you're like, okay, well, if I lie here now, this isn't going to happen. Whereas if you don't do that, you'll lie in bed and think, well, I'm not going to miss out on anything if I don't get up. So it's like setting yourself those goals before you go to sleep and then wake up and then going to do them.
Yeah, giving yourself stakes. I like that. The one thing that I will do is I don't set an alarm on a Sunday. So on a Sunday, I will wake up when I wake up.
Yeah.
And typically, because I am in the habit, it's normally pretty early. But if I then want to go back to bed, I let myself go back to bed.
Yeah, I do exactly the same. Like I've got on my Apple Watch, I set an alarm that's vibrate only, so it can wake me up in the morning and like not wake my partner up. But on the weekend, I'll put my watch on charge, so I don't have it on me, so I wake up naturally whenever I need to.
Having a set bedtime and a set get up time is a really, really good way to build your willpower. And and an easy way to do it. And I think if you can build credibility with yourself, so you say to yourself, I always get up at this time and I always go to bed at this time, then that's something that you can start to build into your personality. You can start to build it into your identity. And then from there, you can build other habits on top of that.
Yeah, definitely.
We hope you enjoyed that episode. If you have a question, just leave it in the comments below.
If you got any value from this episode, please leave it a thumbs up. And if you want to watch more content from us, please subscribe.
And if you know someone who might get value from this episode, please share it with them.
See ya.